The Galactic Concord had watched Earth for over 300 years. They were a group of 17 advanced alien species who explored the universe together. Senior xenobiologist Vrazkul, who looked like a tall blue humanoid with 4 arms and shimmering skin, led the alien team that studied Earth. They had classified Earth as a death world long ago. This meant they thought the planet was too dangerous for most life forms. Earth had extreme weather like hurricanes and blizzards. It had active volcanoes and earthquakes. The planet contained thousands of animals and plants that could kill with poisons or sharp teeth. And yet humans not only survived here, they built cities, created art, and reached for the stars. Impossible, muttered Vrazkul as he reviewed the latest data from their hidden satellites orbiting Earth. These humans endure temperature ranges that would kill most species. They recover from injuries that would be fatal to others. And their rate of technological advancement is frightening, finished Ambassador Zilra, his skin shifting from calm blue to worried orange. Ambassador Zilra was older than Vrazkul, with more experience dealing with new species. The Concord must decide what to do about them soon. Their space exploration is accelerating. On Earth, it was a normal Tuesday for Commander Eric Bennett of the International Space Agency. He floated inside the Mars monitoring station, checking systems and preparing to return home after a 6-month mission. Eric was tall with short brown hair and kind eyes. The crew respected him for staying calm in tough situations. "Commander, we're picking up something strange," said Olivia Martinez, the mission's communications specialist. Olivia was brilliant, with languages and patterns, which is why they chose her for this mission. She pushed her glasses up and pointed at her screen. "This signal isn't from Earth or any of our satellites." Eric pushed himself across the station to look at her monitor. The signal pattern was unlike anything they had seen before. Too precise, too complex. "Send it to Earth immediately," he ordered, "and prepare for emergency return protocols." Within hours, space agencies worldwide confirmed what Eric and Olivia had discovered. An enormous vessel of unknown origin had entered Earth's orbit. It was bigger than any space station humans had built, with a smooth oval shape that seemed to glow slightly against the blackness of space. Panic spread quickly. News channels showed the object in Earth's sky. Some people stored food and water. Others held signs saying "Welcome" or "Go home." World leaders called emergency meetings. 3 days after the ship appeared, it broadcasted a message. It was a simple mathematical sequence that repeated over and over. Prime numbers, then geometric principles, then what appeared to be an invitation to respond. The United Nations Security Council quickly formed a first contact team. They called Olivia Martinez back from Mars to join them. Her understanding of mathematical patterns and communication theory made her perfect for this job. "The sequence is a language primer," Olivia explained to the gathered officials in New York. She had barely slept since returning to Earth. "They're teaching us how to speak with them, starting with universal math concepts and building up to more complex ideas." Frank Powell, a doctor who had served in war zones around the world, joined the team to handle potential medical issues. Lisa Wright came as an anthropologist to understand the visitors' culture. Joe Garcia, with his background in both engineering and military intelligence, was brought in to assess any threats. The alien ship remained in orbit for 2 weeks while Earth prepared. Then it descended slowly, hovering over the neutral waters of the Pacific Ocean. The location was chosen carefully, not in any nation's territory, symbolizing they came to meet all humans. The first meeting happened on a specially built platform in the middle of the ocean. Olivia, Frank, Lisa, and Joe joined 5 other experts and 2 UN representatives. They watched in amazement as a smaller craft descended from the main ship. It looked like a silver teardrop and made no sound as it landed. When the door opened, the humans saw aliens for the first time. The Ardulians were tall and slender with skin that shifted colors like oil on water. They had 4 arms and large, dark eyes that seemed to take in everything. They moved with grace despite Earth's gravity being stronger than they were used to. Ambassador Zilra stepped forward. He wore something like a silver robe with symbols that glowed slightly. He carried a small device that translated his musical language into English. People of Earth, the device spoke in a flat voice. We are the Ardulian representatives of the Galactic Concord, a union of 17 spacefaring civilizations. We have observed your world for many cycles and believe you are ready for first contact. The humans stayed calm despite their racing hearts. They had practiced this moment for weeks. We welcome you to Earth, said the UN Secretary General, stepping forward. We are honored to meet beings from beyond our world and eager to learn from you. Over the next few days, the aliens revealed more about themselves. The Galactic Concord had existed for thousands of years. They explored space, traded resources, and shared knowledge. They had strict rules about contacting developing worlds, and Earth had just reached the threshold where contact was allowed. We offer humanity observer status in the Concord, Ambassador Zilra announced during a global broadcast. This is the first step toward full membership. We will establish a joint research base to share knowledge and prepare humans for wider galactic society. Most people on Earth were excited by this news. A few were suspicious. Why now? Why had these aliens watched for so long before revealing themselves? What the aliens didn't tell humans was their true reason for making contact. Their predictive models showed something alarming. If left alone, humanity would advance to become the dominant force in the galaxy within just 3 centuries. This had never happened before. Most species took thousands of years to reach that level. The Conquered feared what they didn't understand. And humans were very hard to understand. 6 months after first contact, the joint research base opened in the Rocky Mountains. The location offered isolation for sensitive research while providing various climate conditions the aliens wanted to study. Officially, the base was for cultural exchange and scientific collaboration. Teams of human and alien scientists would work together to bridge the gap between their civilizations. As the first snow fell on the new facility, Vrazkul sent a private message to the Conquered High Council. We have begun the detailed assessment of human capabilities. Early results confirm our concerns. These beings have evolved in conditions that would kill most sentient species. Their adaptability exceeds all known parameters. We must determine if they represent an opportunity or a threat before proceeding further. The humans, meanwhile, celebrated their first step into a larger universe, unaware they were being studied as carefully as dangerous but fascinating animals. What the aliens had yet to uncover was just how dangerous humans could truly be when threatened, and why Earth had made them that way. 6 months passed since the joint human-alien research base opened in the Rocky Mountains. Snow covered the surrounding peaks, and the air was crisp and cold. Inside the base, humans and aliens worked side by side in what appeared to be peaceful cooperation. Dr. Frank Powell wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished his daily run on the treadmill. At 52, he kept himself in good shape despite his gray hair. 2 Ardulians watched him from behind a glass wall, their skin shifting between blue and green as they recorded data on their devices. You want to explain why you're so interested in watching me run every day? Frank asked after stepping off the treadmill. He grabbed a towel and wiped his face. The taller Ardulian, named Trelvok, blinked his large eyes. We are studying human endurance. Your species can maintain physical activity for much longer periods than most intelligent species we know. Frank had noticed this pattern over the past months. The aliens seemed unusually interested in how humans handled stress, pain, and physical challenges. They set up tests measuring how long humans could hold their breath, how quickly they recovered from minor injuries, and how well they adapted to temperature changes. In another part of the base, Lisa Wright sat with Ambassador Zilra, explaining human family structures. Lisa was 35 with curly black hair and always spoke with her hands. The ambassador watched her movements with fascination. So humans form strong bonds not just with blood relatives, but with unrelated individuals? Zilra asked. Yes, friends, neighbors, co-workers. We can form deep connections with people who aren't family, Lisa explained. During disasters, humans often risk their lives to save strangers. Fascinating. Zilra's skin rippled with purple patterns, which Lisa had learned meant deep interest. And during conflicts, how do these bonds influence behavior? Lisa paused. This wasn't the first time the aliens had steered conversations toward human behavior during crises. They seemed especially interested in warfare, disaster response, and conflict resolution. "Well, shared hardship often strengthens bonds between people," she said carefully. "Soldiers who face danger together often describe their unit as a second family." Later that evening, Joe Garcia checked the air filtration system in the east wing of the base. At 48, Joe had the rough hands of someone who had worked with tools all his life. Before becoming the base's maintenance supervisor, he had served in military intelligence for 20 years. Old habits died hard, and Joe noticed things others missed. He pretended to adjust a panel while listening to two Ardulians speaking in their own language nearby. After months of exposure, he had picked up some of their words. He caught phrases like adaptive response and threat assessment. Joe had been collecting these odd moments, the aliens' strange research focus, their careful documentation of human reactions to stress, their intense interest in human conflict history. It formed a pattern that made him uneasy. That night, Joe met with Frank and Lisa in his small apartment in the living quarters. They had become friends over their months, working at the base, bonding over their shared sense that something wasn't quite right. "They're studying us like we're lab rats," Frank said quietly. "Or potential threats." Lisa nodded. "They ask so many questions about how humans handle crises. Yesterday, they wanted to know how quickly human societies rebuilt after wars throughout history." Joe leaned forward. "I think they're afraid of us." Frank raised an eyebrow. "Afraid? They have space travel and technology centuries beyond ours. Technology isn't everything," Joe replied. "I think they see something in humans that worries them, something different from other species they've encountered." In the alien section of the base, Ambassador Zeelra prepared his monthly report to the Concord High Council. His private quarters were kept warmer and with higher humidity than the rest of the base, matching his homeworld's conditions. "Humans continue to demonstrate concerning capabilities," he wrote. "Their physical resilience exceeds initial estimates. They can function with minimal sleep for extended periods. They recover from injuries that would be fatal to Ardulians. Their social structures form and adapt with remarkable speed." He added, "Most concerning is their response to challenges. Unlike conquered species that specialize to address specific threats, humans develop general problem-solving abilities. When presented with an unfamiliar obstacle, they experiment rapidly until finding a solution, then share knowledge across their social groups." Vraskol entered the room, his skin dark with worry. "The latest tests confirm our fears. The human named Powell ran for 2 hours today without stopping. Their endurance is unlike anything in our records. Their physical capabilities are concerning," Zeelra agreed, "but their social adaptability poses the greater threat. They form intense bonds during crises. This combination of competitive and cooperative instincts is unique." "The conquered must decide soon," Vraskol said. "Containment or partnership?" Winter intensified in the mountains. Heavy snow isolated the base, making supply deliveries difficult. The humans adapted easily, organizing movie nights and starting a small indoor garden. The aliens watched with interest as humans automatically formed systems to handle the challenge, without any central direction. As the storm raged outside, Lisa worked late in the communication center. With most staff asleep, she found herself alone, except for the alien data terminal left temporarily unattended. For weeks, she had been developing a translation algorithm based on what she had learned of the alien language. She hesitated only briefly before accessing the terminal. Her fingers moved quickly over the unfamiliar controls, applying her translation program to search for information about Earth's designation in Galactic Concord records. The screen filled with alien text that slowly transformed into English through her program. Lisa's eyes widened as she read, "Species assessment. Human. Probable extinction level threat species." Further down, she found the classification explanation. Humans evolved on a planet with extreme environmental pressures. Unlike standard evolutionary patterns where intelligence develops in safe, stable environments, human intelligence emerged as a survival mechanism against persistent threats. This creates a dangerous combination of traits not seen in any conquered species. Lisa downloaded the files to a secure device and slipped away from the terminal. Her heart pounded as she realized the truth. Earth wasn't considered dangerous because of its environment. The Galactic conquered feared humans themselves. The next morning, she found Frank and Joe in the cafeteria. She whispered, "We need to talk." "I found something." As they huddled in Frank's office, Lisa showed them the translated files. "They've been studying us because they're afraid of what we might become." Frank read through the data, his expression growing more serious. "According to this, our psychological resilience is unprecedented. We maintain functionality under conditions that would cause complete collapse in other species." Joe pointed at another section. "Look here. They're especially concerned with our advancement speed. We went from basic flight to space exploration in less than a century. It took other species thousands of years to make similar progress." "What do we do with this information?" Lisa asked, her voice low. Frank stared out the window at the snow-covered mountains. "We need to know more. If they see us as a threat, we need to understand exactly why and what they plan to do about it." Meanwhile, on the alien ship still orbiting Earth, a debate was growing. Some Concord officials argued humans were too dangerous to allow into galactic society. Others saw potential in humanity's unique abilities. As both sides prepared their arguments, humans and aliens continued their careful dance of observation and hidden agendas in the mountain base, neither fully trusting the other, both increasingly aware that first contact had changed everything forever. 1 year had passed since the aliens first arrived on Earth. Spring came to the Rocky Mountains, melting the deep snow around the research base. Inside, Lisa, Frank, and Joe met in the maintenance room where Joe assured them no alien listening devices were present. "We need more evidence," Frank said, keeping his voice low. "We know they see us as a potential threat, but we need to understand exactly why." Lisa nodded. "And what they plan to do about it? Containment? Partnership? Something worse?" "I've been mapping their research patterns," Joe explained, spreading a handmade chart on the small table. "They focus on 3 main areas: our physical abilities, our problem-solving skills, and how we work together during emergencies." Over the next few weeks, they gathered information carefully. Frank noted which medical tests the aliens seemed most interested in. Lisa paid close attention to their questions about human history and psychology. Joe watched their reactions during base emergency drills. Meanwhile, across Earth, excitement about alien contact continued to grow. The United Nations Extraterrestrial Relations Committee, led by Chairwoman Diane Foster, prepared plans for human embassies on conquered worlds. Schools added courses about alien cultures. People learned basic Ardulian greetings. No one suspected the truth except the small group at the mountain base. One evening, Frank accessed the alien medical files using Lisa's translation program. What he found disturbed him deeply. "Their studies show they're especially interested in our pain response," he told Lisa and Joe later. "Humans can continue functioning despite injuries that would completely incapacitate their species. They call it biological override capacity, our ability to push through pain and keep going." Lisa shared her own discoveries. "They're fascinated by human cognitive flexibility. Most conquered species develop specialized thinking for specific problems. We develop general problem-solving skills that work across different situations." Joe had been studying the base's security systems. "They've run 16 different crisis simulations since we've been here. Each time, they measure how quickly humans form teams and adapt to new threats without being told what to do." As their investigation continued, a small incident revealed even more about the aliens' concerns. A kitchen fire broke out in the human section of the base. It was small, but smoke filled the hallway quickly. The fire suppression system activated, spraying foam everywhere. What happened next was ordinary for humans, but apparently remarkable to the aliens. Without anyone giving orders, the humans present formed a chain to pass important equipment out of the affected area. Someone grabbed fire extinguishers while others checked for people who might need help. Within minutes, people had assigned themselves roles and were working together to contain the damage. Later, Joe overheard two Ardulians discussing the event. "Did you see how they organized without central direction?" one asked, skin flickering, with yellow patterns of excitement. "Yes," replied the other, darker blue patterns showing concern. "No communication plan, no established hierarchy, yet each human found an optimal role within seconds. The predictive models were correct." That night, another snowstorm hit the mountains, cutting off power to parts of the base. As repairs began, Frank was called to the medical bay. An Ardulian researcher had suffered an injury when a panel fell during the power outage. As Frank treated the alien's wound, he realized this was an opportunity. The injured Ardulian, named Kreldax, seemed more willing to talk openly while receiving medical care. "Your species recovers from wounds like this in days," Frank said casually as he bandaged the alien's arm. "We humans might take weeks." "But you would continue working despite the pain," Kreldax replied. "Most species cannot do this. Pain signals exist to stop dangerous activity, yet humans override this basic safety mechanism." Frank smiled. "We do what needs to be done. It's how we survived on Earth. That is what concerns the conquered," Kreldax said, then seemed to realize he had said too much. Frank pretended not to notice. "Earth can be challenging, but it's our home. We adapted to its conditions over thousands of years. No other intelligent species evolved in such hostile conditions," Kreldax continued after a pause. "Most developed on stable worlds with minimal threats, predictable seasons, few natural disasters, limited predators. Intelligence had time to develop slowly, in safety. And humans. Your intelligence developed as a survival response to constant threats," Kreldax explained. "Your planet tried to kill you with weather, predators, disease. Instead of dying, you became more clever, more dangerous." When Frank shared this conversation with Lisa and Joe, another piece of the puzzle fell into place. "They think we're dangerous because we evolved differently," Lisa realized. "Most intelligent species in the conquered developed in safe environments. We developed in a dangerous one. That explains their obsession with our stress responses and adaptability," Frank added. "Those traits would be less necessary on a peaceful planet." The next day, Lisa used her position as cultural liaison to access more conquered records. She found a classified file about Earth's unique status among inhabited worlds. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world," she told the others that evening. "Most conquered species evolved on Class 3 or 4 worlds. They consider anything above Class 8 too dangerous for intelligent life to develop naturally." Joe whistled. "So we're the tough kids on the block. What makes Earth so dangerous by their standards?" Lisa read from her notes. "Extreme weather patterns, high tectonic activity causing earthquakes and volcanoes, varied temperature ranges, atmospheric oxygen levels that allow for large predators and frequent fires, high biodiversity creating constant disease pressure, radiation from our sun. Things we take for granted," Frank said quietly. "And the result is us, humans who evolved to withstand these conditions," Lisa continued. "The conquered never encountered a species that developed intelligence as a survival trait rather than as a result of peaceful evolution." As they compared notes, they realized the full picture was emerging. The Ardulians and the Galactic conquered feared humans not because of what they were, but because of what they might become. "Look at our history," Joe pointed out. "We advance fastest during crises. World wars led to nuclear power and computers. The Cold War gave us spaceflight. Competition and threats drive our innovation. And by their standards, we advance incredibly quickly," Lisa added. "According to these records, most species take thousands of years to go from basic flight to space exploration. We did it in decades." Frank leaned back in his chair, thinking. "So, the question becomes, what do they plan to do about us? If they see us as this potentially dangerous species that develops too quickly and thrives under pressure, then we need to know if they consider us an opportunity or a threat to contain," Joe finished grimly. As they spoke, on the conquered ship, orbiting Earth, the debate about humanity's future had reached a critical point. Ambassador Zeelra faced the Concord High Council through a secure transmission. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered, he reported. Their adaptability exceeds all predictions. They survived and thrived on a world that should have killed them. The question now is whether we guide them to become valuable allies, or take steps to ensure they never threaten galactic stability. The oldest member of the council leaned forward. You have studied them closely, Ambassador. What do you recommend? Zil-Ra's skin shifted through several colors before settling on a deep purple. I believe we must put them to a final test. Only then can we decide. 2 weeks after their discovery about Earth's classification as a death world, Frank, Lisa, and Joe noticed increased activity among the aliens at the base. More communication happened between the mountain facility and the main ship in orbit. The Ardulians held private meetings that no humans were allowed to attend. Something's happening, Joe said as they met in his workshop. He had covered the room with signal-blocking material to prevent any listening devices from working. They're preparing for something big. Lisa nodded. Ambassador Zil-Ra has been talking about a special announcement. He says it will define the future relationship between humans and the conquered. Frank looked worried. That could mean anything from full acceptance to... He didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what he meant. If the conquered decided humans were too dangerous, they might take steps to limit Earth's development or worse. We need to be ready, Joe said firmly. Whatever they're planning. Meanwhile, in the alien section of the base, a heated debate continued among the Ardulian researchers. Their skin colors shifted rapidly as they argued, showing their emotional states. These humans are too unpredictable, argued Science Director Morelvik, her skin dark red with concern. Their problem-solving abilities improve under threat conditions. This is the opposite of every other known species. But that same trait makes them valuable, countered Vraskol. His skin showed calming blue patterns. Think of what they could contribute to the conquered. Their unique perspective could solve problems we have struggled with for centuries. Ambassador Zil-Ra listened to both sides. As the senior representative, the final recommendation to the conquered High Council would be his. He had studied humans more closely than any other alien and still found them fascinating and terrifying in equal measure. The test will proceed as planned, he finally announced. We will have our answer soon. The next day, Chairwoman Diane Foster arrived at the mountain base from Washington, D.C. As head of the United Nations Extraterrestrial Relations Committee, she coordinated all official contact between Earth governments and the conquered. Diane was 55 with short gray hair and a no-nonsense attitude that had helped her rise through diplomatic ranks. The aliens have requested a formal meeting tomorrow, she told the human staff. They say they have an important announcement about our status in the conquered. This could be the moment we've been waiting for, full acceptance into galactic society. While others celebrated this news, Frank, Lisa, and Joe exchanged worried glances. They hadn't shared their discoveries with anyone else yet, unsure who to trust or how people would react. That night, they met with Diane in her quarters and took the risk of telling her everything they had learned. You're saying they consider us dangerous because we evolved on a harsh planet? Diane asked after listening to their evidence. Not just harsh, lethal by their standards, Lisa explained. What we consider normal, earthquakes, storms, diseases, predators, terrifies them. And the fact that we not only survived but thrived in these conditions makes us unique among intelligent species. And potentially threatening, Joe added. Diane looked thoughtful. If what you're saying is true, tomorrow's announcement could be about containing humanity rather than welcoming us. We need to be prepared for either possibility, Frank said. Before they could discuss further plans, alarms blared throughout the base. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. Attention all personnel, the announcement system called. This is not a drill. Concord scout ship Alpha 7 has suffered catastrophic system failure in orbit. Emergency protocols are now in effect. Screens throughout the base showed a small alien vessel spinning out of control, venting atmosphere. It had been conducting routine observations of Earth when something went wrong with its main systems. They'll die if they don't get help, Frank said, already moving toward the medical bay to prepare for possible casualties. The base erupted into activity. Human and Ardulian staff rushed to their emergency stations. Communication channels filled with urgent messages between Earth and the main conquered ship. What happened next would change everything. Without waiting for official orders, human space agencies worldwide began mobilizing rescue operations. The International Space Agency activated their emergency launch protocols. Engineers at the base, led by Paul Mitchell, a quiet man who rarely spoke but could fix anything, began adapting Earth docking systems to be compatible with alien technology. "We need to create an interface between our systems and theirs," Paul explained as he worked. His hands moved quickly, building a device from basic components. "Their ship uses a quantum lock mechanism, but I think we can make a mechanical override using these principles." Dr. Grace Allen, the base's medical director, gathered her team. "We don't know their exact biology, but based on the data we've shared so far, I can develop emergency treatment protocols." Within 3 hours, an incredible rescue mission took shape. A human rescue vessel launched from Kazakhstan with the adapted docking mechanism Paul had designed. Dr. Allen had prepared medical treatments based on limited alien physiological data. Teams around the world coordinated their efforts without centralized direction, each group solving pieces of the problem. Ambassador Zeel Ra and the other Ardulians watched with a mixture of shock and awe. Humans worked without stopping, some going without sleep for 36 hours straight. They ignored personal safety concerns. They formed instant problem-solving teams that broke apart and reformed as needed. They improvised solutions with whatever materials were available. "This is exactly what concerns the Concorde," Mrelvik whispered to Zeel Ra. "Look how they respond to crisis. No other species can mobilize like this." "Yes," Zeel Ra replied, his skin showing complex patterns of both concern and admiration. "But would you prefer to be rescued by any other species if you were on that ship?" The human rescue mission reached the damaged scout ship just as its life support systems were failing. Using Paul's improvised docking mechanism, they secured a connection despite all probability calculations suggesting it would be impossible. 4 Ardulians were rescued from the damaged vessel. They arrived at the base severely injured but alive, thanks to the emergency medical protocols Dr. Allen had developed. As the rescued aliens received treatment, the Concorde observers documented everything. They recorded humans working without rest. They noted how strangers formed effective teams without prior training together. They observed humans taking life-threatening risks to save aliens they barely knew. In an emergency meeting in orbit, the Concorde High Council reviewed this incident alongside 3 years of observation data. "The rescue operation succeeded against all statistical probability," reported a Concorde analyst. "The humans created compatible technology with minimal information. They developed medical treatments with incomplete biological data. Their coordination happened without centralized control. These abilities make them dangerous," argued one council member. "These abilities make them invaluable," countered another. After hours of debate, they reached their decision. The fate of humanity would be announced the next day. Back at the base, as things calmed down, Lisa found Frank in the medical bay where he was helping treat the rescued aliens. "Do you think this was their test?" she asked quietly. Frank looked at the injured Ardulians, then at the exhausted but satisfied human medical team. "If it was, I hope we passed." The morning after the rescue mission, tension filled the mountain base. Humans and aliens moved through the hallways with nervous energy. Everyone knew something important would happen today. The 4 rescued Ardulians were recovering well thanks to Dr. Grace Allen's medical team. Their successful treatment, despite limited knowledge of alien biology, had impressed even the most skeptical Concorde observers. In the main conference room, Ambassador Zeel Ra prepared for the announcement. His skin shifted between deep purple and blue as he reviewed the final decision from the Concorde High Council. After years of study and debate, they had reached a conclusion about humanity's place in the galaxy. Frank, Lisa, and Joe sat together near the back of the room. They had shared their discoveries with Chairwoman Diane Foster, who now stood at the front with other human officials. The room filled quickly as both humans and aliens gathered for the historic moment. "Do you think they'll tell the whole truth?" Lisa whispered. Frank shrugged. They must know we've figured out some of it already. Whatever happens, we need to be ready, Joe said quietly. Ambassador Zealra stepped forward as the room fell silent. His translator device activated, converting his musical language to English. People of Earth, he began. For 3 years we have lived among you, studied your civilization, and shared knowledge. Today, by order of the conquered High Council, I am authorized to reveal the complete truth about our mission and our assessment of humanity. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Many humans looked confused. This didn't sound like the welcoming ceremony they had expected. When we first discovered Earth centuries ago, we classified it as a Class 12 death world, one of the most dangerous inhabited planets we had ever encountered. Your world experiences extreme weather, tectonic activity, varied temperature ranges, high biodiversity causing disease pressure, and radiation levels that would be harmful to most conquered species. Zealra paused, his skin rippling with colors as he continued. What confused us was finding intelligent life on such a planet. According to all our understanding of evolution, intelligence develops in safe, stable environments where beings have time to develop higher thinking without constant survival pressure. Yet here you were, not just surviving but building civilizations on a world that should have killed you. The room remained silent as humans processed this information. Some looked surprised, others proud. For millennia, we believed intelligence evolved in response to opportunity, that sentient species developed in environments conducive to life and civilization, the ambassador explained. Humanity proved this assumption catastrophically wrong. You evolved intelligence as a survival mechanism against a planet actively trying to kill you. Senior xenobiologist Vrazkul stepped forward to join the ambassador. His skin showed patterns of scientific excitement as he spoke through his own translator. This environment created humans with capabilities the Concord finds both miraculous and terrifying, Vrazkul said. You possess physical endurance that allows you to continue functioning despite injuries, exhaustion, or environmental stresses that would incapacitate other species. Your psychological flexibility enables you to adapt to new threats without evolutionary timescales. Vrazkul gestured to display screens showing human history and achievements. Most remarkable is your unique combination of competitive and cooperative instincts. You compete fiercely among yourselves, driving rapid innovation, yet can instantly unite against external threats. Your problem-solving abilities actually improve under pressure rather than deteriorate. No other known species shares this trait. Ambassador, Zealra took over again. The truth is, we feared you. The Concord debated whether humanity represented an existential threat to galactic stability. Our predictive models showed your civilization advancing to become the dominant force in the galaxy within just 3 centuries, a development rate that has never occurred before. Gasps and whispers filled the room. Frank, Lisa, and Joe exchanged knowing glances. Their suspicions had been correct. Some members of the Concord advocated for containment, restricting human expansion beyond your solar system until we better understood your development pattern, Zealra continued. Others argued for partnership, believing humanity's unique perspective could benefit the wider galaxy. Chairwoman Diane Foster stepped forward. And what decision did your council reach, Ambassador? Zealra's skin shifted to a bright, clear blue. The rescue operation you conducted yesterday provided our answer. When faced with an emergency involving a species you barely knew, humanity demonstrated exactly what makes you unique in the galaxy. You formed instant problem-solving teams. You created technology compatible with alien systems using minimal information. You developed medical treatments with incomplete biological data. He turned to address the entire room. The final decision of the Conquered High Council is this. Humanity will be welcomed into galactic society with a special designation. Earth will become the training ground for the Concord's emergency response personnel, military specialists, and crisis management teams. The announcement hung in the air for a moment before Vrazkul added, "We feared you because we didn't understand you. Now we recognize that the very qualities that make you dangerous, adaptability, resilience, and your unique response to threats, are exactly what our peaceful Concord has been missing." Applause broke out among the humans. After years of uncertainty, the truth was finally revealed, and it was better than they had feared. As the formal meeting ended, small groups formed to discuss what this meant for Earth's future. Diane Foster joined Frank, Lisa, and Joe in a quiet corner. "You three were right all along," she said with a smile. "They were studying us because they were afraid of us." Joe nodded. "Not afraid of what we are now, but what we might become." Frank looked thoughtful. "It makes sense when you think about it. We evolved on a world that constantly tried to kill us. We developed intelligence to survive threats that never existed on their worlds." Lisa watched the aliens mingling with humans across the room. "And now, they want to learn from us. Our ability to handle crises, to adapt quickly, to solve problems under pressure." In the following weeks, plans were developed for Earth's integration into the Galactic Concord. Human experts in disaster management, emergency medicine, and crisis response were asked to develop training programs for alien species. Earth would host visitors from across the galaxy who came to learn humanity's unique approaches to survival and problem-solving. 3 months after the announcement, the first official human delegation prepared to visit a Concord world. As Frank, Lisa, and Joe watched the departure ceremony on television, they felt a sense of pride. "You know what's funny?" Joe said. "We spent all that time worried they thought we were too dangerous to join their galactic club, and it turns out we're dangerous in exactly the way they need," Frank finished. Lisa smiled. They finally uncovered why Earth is so dangerous. Not because our planet is a death trap by their standards, but because it created us, a species that turns threats into opportunities. Across the galaxy, the phrase Earth-trained became the highest qualification for any critical position. Human crisis management techniques became the foundation of galactic emergency protocols. And everywhere in conquered space, the saying, "send a human," became the standard response when facing an impossible situation. What the aliens had finally uncovered about why Earth was so dangerous wasn't just the physical conditions of the planet. It was that these conditions had created a species that didn't just survive challenges, they thrived because of them.